The head coach of the 10-time champions of the Indoor Football League, the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. It's the Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. Here's your host for the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the Silver Fox, Rich Rosti.
Oh, on a sunny, warm afternoon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Beautiful day, but it is a bit warm outside. Well, I tell you what, hi everybody, I'm Rich Rosti, and welcome to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And then coming up on the show, we'll be talking to the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. We'll be talking about the games this past weekend around the Indoor Football League and the interesting games, very interesting games. And every game, every play, it's all relative as far as the playoffs are concerned because both conferences are in three-horse races with only 2 spots available. So we'll be talking to the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, about that. Then we'll also talk about the Storm's win on the road last Saturday as the Storm went out to Colorado and took on the Colorado Crush, came back with a win 51-29. And then we'll also talk about the game coming up this Saturday as the Sioux Falls Storm host the Nebraska Danger. Then also on the show, we'll be talking to new Hall of Famer Corey Johnson. And we'll talk to him about his career with the Sioux Falls Storm and his induction coming up at the end of the season into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame as a defensive tackle and nose guard. Then also on the show, we'll be talking to Jim Laurie. We've got some interesting things coming up this weekend, especially even this week. And we'll talk to Jim Laurie about that. But this is the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and it's presented proudly each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers. That's Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and also the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls. Then also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
The Sheridan Sioux Falls is proud to
think rugged. When you think tough. When you think big. Think of the best transportation solutions mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. We keep you moving.
The head coach of the 10-time champions of the Indoor Football League, the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. It's the Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. Here's your host for the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the Silver Fox, Rich Rosti.
Oh, on a sunny, warm afternoon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Beautiful day, but it is a bit warm outside. Well, I tell you what, hi everybody, I'm Rich Rosti, and welcome to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And then coming up on the show, we'll be talking to the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. We'll be talking about the games this past weekend around the Indoor Football League and the interesting games, very interesting games. And every game, every play, it's all relative as far as the playoffs are concerned because both conferences are in three-horse races with only 2 spots available. So we'll be talking to the head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, about that. Then we'll also talk about the Storm's win on the road last Saturday as the Storm went out to Colorado and took on the Colorado Crush, came back with a win 51-29. And then we'll also talk about the game coming up this Saturday as the Sioux Falls Storm host the Nebraska Danger. Then also on the show, we'll be talking to new Hall of Famer Corey Johnson. And we'll talk to him about his career with the Sioux Falls Storm and his induction coming up at the end of the season into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame as a defensive tackle and nose guard. Then also on the show, we'll be talking to Jim Laurie. We've got some interesting things coming up this weekend, especially even this week. And we'll talk to Jim Laurie about that. But this is the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and it's presented proudly each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers. That's Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and also the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls. Then also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
The Sheridan Sioux Falls
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
Our opening interview each and every week with the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, brought to you by our great friends over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, and they've been sponsors since day one of indoor football in South Dakota. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is, and they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls. And their subs are just breader, and they wanted me to say it just that way. Their subs are breader. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, how you doing after that little jaunt we had out to Colorado and back over the weekend?
A lot better now.
Great line. I love that line. That's great. Yeah, it was. We'll be talking about it in more detail, but going out, taking care of business, coming back with that win was really, really sweet, especially this time of year, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. It was maybe something we needed. Get on the road after losing our first game at home in a long time, and having some time on the bus for the guys. You know, a lot of, as Coach Fields often talks about, knowing your self-awareness, and it gives you a lot of time to think about that type of thing. What do I need to improve on? What things do I struggle with? Am I even aware of those things, which a lot of the players really struggle with? And it gives you that time, and then it's some time just to relax. I thought that was good for the guys.
You know, we talked about it a little bit in the pregame interview about having fun. And, maybe that trip was a chance to get the guys' camaraderie going again. And maybe that's a part of the thing to set them up for these final two games, the one at home coming up on Saturday against the Nebraska Danger, then that all-important game down in Iowa with the Barnstormers, the last game of the season. So we'll see how it all plays out, and we'll talk about that game in more specifics. But around the IFL, there were some interesting ball games going on. First of all, on Friday night, Iowa Barnstormers took care of business against Salt Lake City, 58-36. But then Green Bay all but pulled off the upset as they lost in a very tight ball game and lost it basically at the end to the Nebraska or to the Wichita Falls Nighthawks, which if a loss would have kicked them out of the playoffs. Green Bay all but pulled up the upset, but Wichita Falls prevailed 44-37, and that was an interesting one, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I really tip my hat to Coach Williams for, they lost their quarterback in Green Bay, and they've really struggled since that point. So he came out with a power I style offense and really tried to control the game and gave Wichita Falls fits. And then their defense, Green Bay's defense, just could not. They just wore down, and Wichita Falls just started running the ball in the second half, and Green Bay couldn't stop them. And
then another game that happened on Saturday night was Nebraska was at Cedar Rapids, and that game went to overtime before Nebraska wound up prevailing in that contest 52-46. And Cedar Rapids had opportunities to win that game at the end, didn't they?
Yeah, boy, they really have to be kicking themselves. They have the ball with 30 seconds left, less than that, 20-some seconds left. And they go the rule is with less than a minute, negative yards, clock stops.
Right.
You just got to get positive yards. So Cedar Rapids goes shotgun, first down, negative yards, clock stops, second down, negative yards, clock stops, third down, shotgun. They're shotgun the entire time. Negative yards, clock stops. Try a long field goal, miss it. 9 seconds left in the game. The game seemed like it was over, and then Nebraska tries to throw a bomb, incomplete. You think the game's over. There's 1 second left, and I'm sure the Cedar Rapids coach is questioning their clock operator. But 1 second left, they kick a 58-yard field goal to tie the game, and then you could see the momentum. Nebraska wins the game in overtime.
And the other game that went on was Arizona went up to Spokane, and they took care of business handily up there, 33-16. And right now, Arizona has clinched the conference championship, according to their website, and they will have home field advantage for the one playoff game, either against the Nebraska Danger or Spokane Empire, as those two are tied right now, 8-6 records. So with 2 games to play, that's going to be interesting in that intense conference, isn't it?
That really will. Arizona is a very physical team, and I was very surprised that, Spokane does not get out-muscled very much. But the thing they really did, it seemed like they really didn't run the ball much, Spokane. They relied on their quarterback who, he may be a good passer, but he really didn't like the blitz coming at him.
Uh-huh.
And they continued to go empty sets and let that big monster linebacker for Arizona just continue to blitz right at him. And you could tell he didn't like it. I mean, he struggled with it, and they just couldn't muster any points against Arizona's defense.
Coming up next week, Spokane is going to be traveling to Iowa to take on the team with the longest winning streak right now. The Iowa Barnstormers have won 10 games in a row. So Spokane's going to be going to Iowa to take on the 12-2 Barnstormers. Spokane 8-6. They need a win there to maintain their chances for the playoffs. While Nebraska comes here, Nebraska also 8-6 against the Storm, of course, 12-2. So those are going to be 2 critical games to be watching. Both of them, we're in one totally, and then if the Spokane Empire would get a win over Iowa, that would be a huge thing for the Sioux Falls Storm, wouldn't it?
That would be a huge thing. Yeah, that would be great if that could happen. I don't know. You think with the veterans that Spokane has, they're very capable, but it just seems like ever since that loss to us, they have really struggled to try to right the ship. They've since then cut their quarterback. They've had some injuries that Coach Shack has really been trying to deal with. But it's a big game for them. It really is. And I think, Nebraska probably has the tougher of the 2 schedule remaining. I mean, Nebraska, they have to play us and Wichita Falls still. Right. Spokane, I think, has Iowa and Salt Lake, I think.
Salt Lake, in Utah.
Yeah, but I think Nebraska is playing the better football of the 2 teams right now. I really do. I think they have lost 2. They lost to Arizona in a really tough game, and then found a way to win this game. And sometimes that's the thing that really scares you, of a team trying to take off from that. So we'll try to put a stop to that.
And we'll be talking about that game later on in the Kurtiss Riggs Show. We'll be talking about Nebraska Danger coming to town. Storm played down there in Grand Island earlier this year. Very fortunate to escape with a win in that contest. And these teams have had a big rivalry over the course of the time. So it's going to be a great contest coming up on Saturday as the Sioux Falls Storm hosting the Nebraska Danger. So anyway, Coach, this is just the way you want to have it. It's 2 3-horse races at the end of the season. All teams have to play to the max, and that's important for everybody, because then everybody gets the best effort, and it also sets things up for some really classic matchups. Oh,
I agree. And it's somewhat troubling, though. This schedule deal has got to be figured out, because, Rich, as I'm looking, I'm like, we're playing all cross-divisional games here at the end of the season, which may be fine, but then I look at, we have played Nebraska more times than Spokane has.
Uh-huh.
Wichita Falls, Iowa had to go to Wichita Falls twice. And I think if we're going to have divisions, we need to try to figure out a way to make it a little more equitable amongst playing within your division, and then have a few cross-divisional games. Otherwise, we should just put all the teams and say, hey, top 4 teams, those 4 go to the playoffs. Because I do think it is, when you look at, hey, we're playing Nebraska home and away, and the team they're tied with in the playoffs, they've only played 1 time.
Right.
So I don't know. That's something the league can look at. I know it's really tough. The schedule and doing the schedule for the league is very difficult. But I think there has to be a way we can fix some of these problems.
I totally agree with you, because it is very tough. And then you look at strength of schedule, you wind up playing the same teams that are struggling. It doesn't help you strength of schedule, especially the way the season turned out. Wichita Falls had the strongest schedule. Iowa, they had the very weakest of the top 3 teams, because they were playing Cedar Rapids and Green Bay so many times, even more than what the Sioux Falls Storm did.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's a great point. Some of the teams deserve what they get when it comes to that, because some of the teams say we only want to play within a certain region. Now, I'm not saying that's the case with Iowa, and I don't think they were one of those teams at all. They will go out and play. That was just an unfortunate situation for them. But yeah, I agree. I think it's something that they got caught by maybe the other teams. Maybe the teams they played are the teams that are saying, we're only going to play within our region for the majority of our season, and that's really hurting Iowa because of that.
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, when we come back, we'll be talking about the game out in Colorado, where the Storm was victorious out there, 51-29. So stay tuned, folks, and we'll be talking to the head coach after we pause for this time out. But this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. They deliver anywhere in town, and their subs are just bread. We'll be back right after this.
When people think of Uncle Ed's Specialty Meats.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill, where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. And that's the place for the away game viewing party. And they also have specials there, $1 off Bud and Bud Light taps and special prizes, courtesy of Budweiser and Beal Distributing. Come watch Storm football with friends and other Storm fans. It's more fun that way. The next viewing party will be on Saturday, June 17th, when the Storm travels down to Des Moines to take on the Iowa Barnstormers, and that one's going to be a dandy. There's no doubt about that. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Couple of things, Coach. It was the first time we've ever been out to Colorado, and after a game, we walked out and the sun was still shining, and that was really great to have a 5 o'clock start, wasn't it?
That was. Yeah, you walk out to a beautiful sight, seeing the mountains, the sun, and you're right. It was nice, especially having a long road trip. But that was something I was hoping we could do in Sioux Falls too, was move the start time up a little bit. But not this year, maybe next year. We'll see. One
thing about it, they had all of these young girls. I would say, maybe 4 years old up to maybe fourth graders or something like that. They had a ton of those girls performing dancing routines, and I think that's why they had the 5 o'clock start, so it wasn't so late for them. But boy, that really helped their crowd too, because Mom and Dad and Grandpa came to the game to watch the little girls dance, and it really helped the crowd. And I thought it was a great crowd excitement level, and they got into it during the course of the night, didn't they?
I thought it was a good crowd, one of the better crowds that we've seen in Colorado in the times we've gone there. I think the dance camp helped, but I think the main reason that the 5 o'clock start was their hockey team is still playing.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And I think they had to convert for their hockey. The ice was still down. I couldn't believe that a hockey team's still playing at this time of the year. But, yeah, they still had the ice down, and when we were running, they put boards over the ice and then the turf over the boards. You could feel sometimes the uneasiness of those boards.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. There's franchise out there. They are a minor league to the NHL. It's a different league than what is in Sioux Falls, and they are doing very well. They're playing in North Carolina, I believe, that weekend. Coach, when we got done with that game, it was really a game that went very fast, and I looked it up. it was 2 hours and 24 minutes elapsed time, and I was thinking that's probably the fastest game of the year, but we actually had one faster, 2 hours and 10 minutes down in Cedar Rapids. But I think with the clock running, the games are going along much faster, aren't they?
I agree. I think just the subtle difference of running it after touchdowns during when the touchdown is scored, continuing the clock to run, and the transition of the extra point or 2-point conversion, and then they stop it right after that. I think that has made it's probably eaten up at least a half hour.
Oh, at least, yeah.
And so, I think there's a difference between all the officials of when they blow the play ready, and when because some will let it go, and some are 10 to 15 seconds. That makes a big difference, too. When you go somewhere, how fast do they set the ball? How fast does the referee blow it ready? And that has an influence on the game, too.
So many times when a game is played and you play really well, you have a very good ball game, but there's always somebody that comes up with, somebody says something good about it, then somebody else comes along and says something negative about it. So I'm going to kind of play a good cop, bad cop type of thing with my questions tonight and comments tonight. Good cop. Scored 51 points, gave up only 29 points. Great effort tonight. Bad cop, penalties, 15 for 143. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say you're exactly right. I thought the guys played hard. I thought offensively, we had one bad series. Defensively, we had that bend but don't break mentality. But then what cost us on both sides of the ball? Penalties. It was, you and I talked about it after the game. It was just, it was over and over and over. And, certain guys especially continue to get the same penalties, or just ignorant ones. And we're doing a disservice as coaches, not getting this changed or getting someone else in there that won't do these things, because eventually it's going to cost us. It's cost us in the past, and we've got to fix that.
Here's our first highlight. So the Colorado Crush give up a rouge, and they also give up a safety to the Sioux Falls Storm. I don't think in all the years that I've done this that I've had a rouge and a safety in back-to-back plays. And the reason that I ran that, for a couple of reasons. One, it was the very first time I think that's ever happened in all the years that I've been covering the Sioux Falls Storm. But it's interesting as far as what this allowed for the Sioux Falls Storm. The score was tied. Storm get a touchdown, point after, get 7 points. Kickoff, you score a rouge, you get 1 point. First play, there's a safety, and you get another 2 points for that. But also with a safety, you get the ball again, and then you scored another touchdown. So at the point, it went from being a tie ball game to the Storm up by 17, and Colorado didn't really have a chance with the football. And that pretty much set the tone, and the game was pretty much, that was the downfall of the Colorado Crush out there, and the Storm just went on to a victory. But that particular series, 17-point swing, and the other team didn't really have a chance with the ball.
What's also weird is so often you see people, when a rouge happens, they signal safety. And because it's the common thing to think that we had people in the stands right around our bench area saying, did you guys just get 2 safeties in a row? And you're right, I can't ever remember a time seeing that happen, and we were able to, but it was the difference in the game. I mean, we really blew the game out at that point, and then we just maintained from that point on.
Here's our next highlight. Sioux Falls Storm still at the Colorado Crush 23. High snap, pulled in by Lorenzo Brown, gives the handoff. Robbie Rouse breaks some tackles, bounces off another one at the 10, around the 5, and dives down to about the 1-yard line. Robbie Rouse, what some power as he took that defender, Aziz Higgins, with him all the way down to the 1-yard line. Robbie Rouse for the night, 15 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown, 1 reception for a total of 15 yards. Long of 21 yards. And John, if you could give me that volume back again. Thank you very much. And then also wanted to say good cop, bad cop. Good cop, rushing 103 yards, passing 118 yards, 221 yards of offense. Bad cop says, yeah, but you gave up 5 penalties that gave Colorado the first down, and that's a continuation of the last comment.
Yeah, I thought Robbie ran efficiently. I thought he ran really hard, and, we need him involved in our run game. And I thought Zoe did a nice job of letting other people make plays, not himself always trying to make the big play. I thought it was pretty even run and pass. The penalties, it's a problem. And I think in the years past, we had the talent that we could have had 50 penalties a game, Rich, and we still were going to dominate teams. But that's not the case this year. We're not. We have to be efficient offensively and defensively.
Good cop. Red zone chances, you are 5 of 5. And the bad cop says, well, out of 9 possessions, the Storm didn't score on 1 possession. That was more tongue-in-cheek type of thing.
I think you're searching then for that.
Yeah, I certainly was. But
I said we had one bad drive.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we had 2 bad drives. We had one where we had to resort to a field goal on 3rd down. It was 3rd and goal from the 5, and I called a terrible play and put Robbie in a situation where he had 2 defenders that he had to try to make miss, and I should have called a timeout seeing the coverage. And then we had the drive where we went for it on 4th down. We ended up a yard short. That one I don't regret at all. The other one, though, that we had to get the field goal, we need a touchdown there, and that's kind of our expectation.
Good cop says you had 7 broken passes. I think that's a record for the year. 7 defended passes that you knocked down the pass. But you only had 1 interception, says the bad cop, and Richard Smith got that. 7 broken passes, fantastic. And, you get whatever. Interceptions will come regardless. But having those 7 broken passes, those are a lot of times drive-stopping or drive-killing plays.
They are, yeah. Richard especially had multiple chances where he made great breaks and then didn't capitalize with the interception. And he knows that. He was down on himself. And that's what we love about him is he puts himself in position to make those interceptions. And he should have had a couple more in that game.
Here's our last highlight. Now a field goal attempt for the Colorado Crush. Here's the kick. It's going to be blocked. Blocked and be picked up by the Sioux Falls Storm. Going into the end zone. Touchdown for the Sioux Falls Storm as Nick Richardson got the block and he picks it up and goes into the end zone. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. Holy help me, Hannah. What a play by Nick Richardson. Good cop says Nick Richardson got a block and ran it in for a touchdown. Bad cop says, hey, Colorado returned a 56-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He forgets to mention that actually that was called back. But offense and your special teams, I thought, had a big night that night out in Colorado.
I thought our special teams was better, Rich. They had the one long kick return, but a key block in the back is what can ignite a great return like that. So overall, I thought we did a good job on our special teams.
Coach, you get the win out there. That was a playoff game in our minds and our expectations. It sets things up for the next game coming up against the Nebraska Danger. But any other final comments about the win out in Colorado?
No, I'm glad it's done. It's beautiful out there this time of the year, but I would rather stick around here.
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, we'll come back to you after a while. We'll talk about the Nebraska Danger.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, the official viewing party hosts. And the next viewing party is on June 17th as the Storm goes down to Des Moines to take on the Iowa Barnstormers. Coming up next, he is a Hall of Famer being elected this year, Corey Johnson. And you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
Let's all take a moment.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And after the interview, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the game this Saturday as the Storm hosts the Nebraska Danger. Joining us via the fan line, he is one of 2 Storm players elected into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame. James Terry is the other one, and our next guest is Corey Johnson. Congratulations, Corey, on being elected into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame.
Hey, Rich, thank you so much.
You know, I wanted to talk a little bit with you about this honor. I tried to get in touch with JT, and I'll still try to get him on a show yet this season because, you know, what an impact he made with the Sioux Falls Storm. But I wanted to talk to you. How many years did you play with the Sioux Falls Storm?
I played 10.
I mean, that's 10 years of indoor football. That's unheard of. There's nobody else that I've even known to be maybe 7 or 8. But 10 years is an awful long time, especially for a nose guard, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to think I was fortunate enough to play that long, A, and then B, I got to play for the best organization that does it. So 2 things that you can't complain about for sure.
Now, you wound up with the all-time sack lead with the Sioux Falls Storm. How many sacks did you have in your career?
I don't know if it's a good thing if I know the exact number, but I do know. It ended up with 64 and a half.
Hey, it's on the card you hand out every time you see somebody, so I figured you'd know what it was.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't do that.
Yeah, it was 64 and a half. The guy who had it before me, I think personally is the greatest D lineman to ever play for the Sioux Falls Storm and probably in indoor football, which is Nate Floyd. And he set the record at 5 years. So I joke around and I tell people, like, I definitely Emmitt Smith this record. Like, I just played a lot longer to get it. But, you know, it worked out and everything's fine.
One question I wanted to ask you, where were you when you were notified of being inducted into the Hall of Fame? We're talking to Corey Johnson with the Sioux Falls Storm. Where were you and how were you notified?
I was sitting in my office, and James Terry called me, and I was like, what's this? Why is James calling me right now? And, you know, I had some inkling that it had something to do with the Hall of Fame. But so I answered the call, and James said, congratulations. He said some other words after that. I'm not going to say those on and then we chatted a little bit, and then he told me that it was a number from, like, West Virginia or Virginia that called, and I looked at my missed calls, and I saw that I had a missed call, so I called the number back, which was Mike Allhouse, and he just congratulated me, and we chatted a little bit, and, yeah, I mean, it was overwhelming. I thought, you know, with my career and being able to play for the Sioux Falls Storm and having the stats and the 8 championships, like I thought it would be a great culmination to my career as a player. But at the same time, I was like, James Terry is the greatest wide receiver to ever play indoor football, and there's some other people that were, you know, on that list that I was like are certainly deserving, and I didn't know if they'd give it to 2 Storm players. You know, because, you know, we're fighting against each other for the same fan votes because fans could only vote once, I believe. And so there's just, you know, there's some things that I didn't think it was going to happen. And then when I got the phone, or when I called Mike back and he told me that I was voted in, I was like, it was overwhelming.
It's just, but I sent you a text, and I had put in that your election proves the epitome of what you were as a player to deserve the honor, because there was nobody. There are some players right now that are close, but there's nobody that had a bull rush like Corey Johnson did. And what you did, you know, getting sacks was not your job. Your job was to take that center, put him in the lap of the quarterback, mess up his whole day, and that's what you did to perfection. And I think, and that is why people remember your playing, because you just disrupted so many quarterbacks' tempos, their patterns, their rhythm, whatever it was, just by pushing that a center 5, 6, 7, 8 yards back into the lap of the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that sacks weren't a part of my job. And, you know, I received a lot of messages from other players that played on other teams, other coaches sent me messages, and that was one of the things that several of them said were, no one disrupted offenses quite like you did. And, it's awesome that other coaches thought that or think that or were willing to give me praise for that, because it's just, yeah, I mean, I feel like one of my strongest attributes of my career was I worked my butt off. I mean, and you could ask any of my coaches in the off season, I was running nonstop and just always hitting the weight room, and just I put a lot of work into my game for it to be even where it was. And so, it's awesome to receive that honor.
Well, the other thing is that for a man that's the size of a small house, you were exceptionally quick off the ball.
Well, A, I was a little quick, and B, I had a knack for feeling, and it's hard to explain. I try to explain it to my D linemen now as I coach for the Storm. Like I could just feel the rhythm of a quarterback's cadence. And certainly sometimes they would catch me. I mean, I'm famous for having 1 to 2 offsides a game. And I don't think it's quite that many, but you could probably say I averaged 1 a game over my career.
I'd say more. But you did. You timed the snap so many times, and that gave you an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Yeah, that's about right. Well, I tell you what, Corey, congratulations to you and James Terry, both being elected into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame. A very well-deserved honor, and it was great having you on the Kurtiss Riggs Show and talk about your career, and some great memories have come to my mind about watching you play for those 10 seasons.
Hey, Rich, it's always a pleasure to be on your show, and I thank you for the praise, and we got a big game this Saturday.
Very good said. Very well said. Thank you. Corey Johnson, newest member of the Indoor Football League. From the Sioux Falls Storm, James Terry is the other. When we come back, we'll be talking to Jim Loria. But when we go to break, we'll take your third call, 336-1234. Free tickets for the game coming up on Saturday against the Nebraska Danger. This is the Kurtiss Riggs Show on 98.1 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
We all know that emergencies happen at the most inconvenient times. It's Sunday night and you're relaxing before you start the work week when suddenly your furnace goes out. Luckily, Waterbury Heating...
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Routine services can save you money in the long run. Call Waterbury to schedule yours
to the
today.
Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And this segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And after the interview with Jim Loria, we'll be taking your third call, 336-1234. Free tickets to the game coming up on Saturday against the Nebraska Danger. He is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, Jim Loria. And, Jim, your season just stays busy all the way through to the end, doesn't it?
Rich, it never ends. This is a very, very hectic week with golf Wednesday, game Saturday, and obviously we're planning to be in the playoffs, so a lot of it got to get focused on that, too, down the road.
Tell us about the Chip In for Heroes coming up on Wednesday.
Well, it's a fun event. It's our third year, and it's military-based, and Warriors Never Give Up is our charitable beneficiary, and it's a wonderful, wonderful group, a local-based nonprofit organization that helps the service combat veterans, but also the disabled veterans. And they provide, outdoor adventures and experiences to kind of give the guys reacclimated when they come back from, protecting, fighting for the country. So this is our first year with them. It's been Operation Homefront for the 2 previous years. So we got about 25 foursomes. Actually, we have, if I can make this announcement to the listening audience, we actually have 1 foursome open. We have a sponsor that cannot make the event on Wednesday. So the event's free to whoever the foursome team can be. If they want to email me tonight, I'll make sure that we can make that happen for them. So actually we have it's Wednesday's event, 8 o'clock in the morning at Baker Crossing.
And that's like a, $400 value, isn't it?
It would be, yes. Yes, plus lunch is included. And it's as you know, you've done it for 2 years. It's a fun thing, and we'll miss you at the awards banquet. And John Gaskins is going to fill in for you.
Oh, fantastic. Might as well get a pro to fill in for the amateur. There's no doubt about that.
Rich, you're the best.
Well, I tell you what, but also coming up this Saturday, it's the last regular season home game. What's on tap for the fans coming out to this one?
Well, keeping with that military thought for the week, Rich, we've got the military salute. Dakota Autoland Glass has been a long-time sponsor of that event, so that's going to come up Saturday. And as part of the event, two things are synonymous with it. One is the jerseys will be raffled off that the players wear, all 26. And then the proceeds, again, Warriors Never Give Up. And then we've also got a secondary military group involved. It's a brand new foundation called Home Front Warriors, and it's created by a young lady named Chantel, and it's designed. Her family's been military for years. Her husband was in the military. And as you can imagine, when a spouse or takes off and has to be deployed, it's tough on the family that stays behind. Yes. So she created a foundation to help those, whether it's the mom or the dad, whoever is staying behind with the family. She has a foundation designed to help them, and so they're going to be part of it Saturday night. And then we also have, as we've done for years, if you're a member of the military, you have an ID badge with you, bring it to the Premier Center box office. You're admitted free as a gift for protecting our country and fighting for the freedoms. And then your family can get in at our group rate, which is $5 on a $15 ticket. Oh my, that's a great deal. During the broadcast, every broadcast I do, I always send a special shout-out to all the military men and women serving our country. And I always say we must never forget our troops, and we must never forget why they are serving in Godspeed until they're all safely home, because we cannot remember and honor our military enough, I should say. We cannot honor and thank our military enough for the freedoms that we enjoy. Well, certainly it's a tribute to them, Rich, and we appreciate you saying that, because it is important, and this is the annual, every year the Storm does this, and the golf outing has become, in our 3 years of doing it, it's been military themed. We actually have a couple Humvees that are going to be out there at Baker Crossing Wednesday. We've got the South Dakota Army National Guard golfing, the Air National Guards golfing. So there's a lot of involvement with the military at that event, too. Well, Jim, thank you so much for all that you do. And let's see if we can work things out to have a playoff game at home and maybe a championship. There you go. Thank you, Reg. Jim Lauria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. And when we come back, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, about the Nebraska Danger. But when we go to break, we'll take your third call, 336-1230, for free tickets to the game on Saturday. This is the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1, 1230. Sports Radio KWSN.
No matter what you do,
success in business is about growing your bottom line. Now, there are two ways you can do this: increase revenue and decrease spending. This is where we come in. At A&B Business Solutions, our managed print services will optimize your print environment, reducing your total printing costs while improving workflow. Managed print services will impact your bottom line. MPS, it's just another solution from A&B, the company that helps you solve, simplify, and save.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230. Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti. Each and every week on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the game preview is brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And they've been supporters of the Sioux Falls Storm, sponsors for so many years. And they're located at 917 South Cliff Avenue in Sioux Falls. Sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Nebraska Danger coming into town.
They escaped with a win this past week, but they're going to be coming into the Sioux Falls Storm with nothing but trying to mess up the rest of the Storm season. Tell us about this Nebraska Danger team and what they bring to the table.
Well, a lot of fire and passion. I mean, they're not worried about the Storm season. They're worried about their season.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tied with Spokane right now with two, I would think, tough games for them, playing us and Wichita Falls. So, they're going to play like they need every win just like we are. And I think that's why fans are going to really get a treat when they come out. They're going to see both teams playing for their playoff hopes here.
You know, one of the things as far as the Nebraska Danger is concerned, that they have a quarterback on their roster right now that started out the season with the Sioux Falls Storm, Drew Powell, and he's been able to have some playing time with the Danger. Tell us what he's brought to the Nebraska Danger as far as his talent as a quarterback.
Well, I think he's brought some stability to their offense. You know, Drew's a great kid. He needed to play. He was not getting any better as a quarterback. Trying to play a receiver for us, it just, it was something that we could ask someone else to do that's more of a receiver, and let Drew go out and play the position that he's good at. Let him get better at it. So he'll bring some composure. He doesn't get rattled. That composure part's the best element. He'll bring some good leadership. And, he's somewhat of an elusive runner. He's not a great runner, but he runs for positive yards. And he's a big kid. You got to really wrap up when you go after him.
He's played in a couple ball games. Actually, he has an average of almost 7 yards a carry, and he's had the long of 36. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns, so he has made an impact with the Nebraska Danger in the short time that he has been there. Another former Storm player has made a very positive impression on the Nebraska Danger. That's Ezzy Obiora on the defensive line. Tell us about what Ebby has done for the Danger.
Well, I think Ezzy's one of, if not the best defensive lineman in the league this year. I think he and Walter Thomas are probably two of the biggest difference makers up front that you see. He's just got an incredible motor, and Nebraska somehow was able to get him to come there and play for them, and he's had a tremendous year for them. He's done a nice job.
What are the keys for this game for the Sioux Falls Storm to get the win?
Well, we got to neutralize their D-line, and I don't know if we necessarily need to stack Drew, but we want to create an unsettledness for him in that pocket, and we want to eliminate those big plays with them. We want to make sure their defensive line's eliminated, meaning always guessing, tired, exhausted, wear them down, and then take away that big play and make them uncomfortable.
One thing about it, the Sioux Falls Storm had a couple of injuries. You brought in a new player, Jermaine Robinson, and he made an impact in the game. Great to have been able to sign him for this late season run, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, Jermaine is a tremendous football player, and these guys that he's done with his CFL career for now. He may go back, but he wants to try to get into an NFL camp, and so you sign that CFL deal, you're locked in for 2 years, and so he's trying to wait and see, and he knows he needs to be playing during that time, so he came back here.
Well, Coach, talk to you on Saturday. Very important game with the Sioux Falls Storm taking on the Nebraska Danger.
I look forward to it, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. When we come back, we'll wrap this Kurtiss Riggs show up for another week, and we'll be back right after this.
The Sheraton Sioux Falls is proud to serve as the official host hotel for all IFL teams this season.
From starting a family to starting a business. Everywhere there's possibility, there's Premier. Believe in possibility. First
segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This brought to you by Boyer Trucks, celebrating our 90th year sales, parts, and service, and we keep you going. And you can always watch the Kurtiss Riggs Show on the Storm website, all courtesy of Boyer Trucks. And when we go off the air, we'll take your third caller, 336-1230 for 4 free tickets, courtesy of Wingstop of Sioux Falls. More than a meal, it's a flavor experience. Thank you to the Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs, along with Corey Johnson and Jim Loria. Congratulations, James Terry and Corey Johnson, on being elected into the Indoor Football Hall of Fame. The Coaches Show has been brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and also by Orthopedic Institute. Saturday, Storm take on the Nebraska Danger. Thank you, John Michaels, for being our studio producer and engineer, and all of you, our listening audience, for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on 98.1 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Good night, everybody.